This video is going to show you how to take the motor off of the stand and separate the motor. It's very simple, but you have to be very careful on it. So many of these brackets were like this. They broke really easy. You can see the back of them, how they scar and they fall apart. They're made out of a cheap pot metal, and probably we get a call for at least one of these every couple of weeks. There is a way that you can save the mixer because they're good mixers. You can't go back original because you're not going to find another one of those brackets. But anyway, let's take the motor off of the stand. That's your first thing you have to do. There's 2 bolts on the back. When you get one of these that has a good bracket, they're pretty rare. They're good machines. They were a dual purpose. You can use these for malts, and you can even use them for ice. They have different beaters on the mixing blade. The mixing blade on these is a dual purpose. It'll make good malts, and also you can use it to like make margaritas and ice drinks. Anyway, this just falls off when you take it loose. You have 2 brass screws. That's your 2 wires coming up, and you have 2 brass terminals here, little strips. When you put that back together, those match up, and that's your power. So you don't have to worry about this. We'll set this over. The first thing you do when you take one apart, you take the brushes out. Be careful taking them out. This is a small screw that's the cap and the brush and the spring. Do the other one on the other side. You never know what they're going to be, if they're going to be the same. Normally they are, but not always. The spring just goes back onto the brush. And sometimes they'll come different brushes, different manufacturers. Some of them doesn't even have the spring attaches to it. Okay, once your brushes is out, the only other step you have is to take the 2 screws on the bottom out. This is probably one of the simplest mixers to take apart of any of them. There's nothing on the inside that's going to come flying out at all. There's not even a spring in there. So this, once you get them out, it just comes apart. Check there's nothing in here. You just have the bushing where it goes up into it. And then this is where this goes up into your bushing. There's your commutator on your armature. This one looks very good. The bearings or the bushings seem real smooth. This doesn't have the loud ball bearings like on most of the others. Bushings are almost silent. When this is running, you will just you can hardly hear it. It's just almost silent. But these are good mixers. That's all you have to do is to take these apart. That's your first step if you're going to have to go in and change a coil or something on your brush holders, but you have to get it off of the stand. You will have on these, the only thing you have to look at, on the top there will be sometimes 1, 2, I've seen as many as 3 little fiber washers. And the purpose of that is to keep the shaft from going up and down as when it starts and stuff. So that's the only thing you can actually lose. They will come off of there, but not very often. Okay, put the thing back in. One tip on this is the bolt that holds it together is always in direct line with the brush cap. Don't tighten it all the way, just snug it up. Come to the other side. Usually once one side's lined up, it's a lot easier to find the other side. because they didn't, on this model, they didn't taper it on the inside. So you got to hit that hole exact. There, I think we got it. So that's all really you have to do to take it apart for servicing. This model was 25. They have a really nice label on them. This was made from 29 to about 35, and then it's replaced with a 27. This is the last small mixer that had the brushes, brush caps like this. From then on, they're just, you take them off with your fingers. They're on the external. These, you can lose that brush cap real easy. They shoot out of there, and if you're in a shop or you know, you can lose them. You can lose them right here. Put the brush in. What you really have to be careful on these is that the bracket on the back. That led Hamilton Beach to quit making these. They had so much trouble with this bracket that you mount on the motor on. It was made of a cheap pot metal, and so many of them broke. Sometimes your mixer just falls over and they will break. Okay, this is in. Here's now this bracket on the back. Here's what they normally look like. You see, they're. If you look close at them, you'll see. Look at the back. They fall apart, and the mixer tips over. These will break. There is a way you can save the mixer if you know, it's terrible to throw one away. You can save it by changing it with replacing this bracket with the one, a 27 that was made after that, but there wasn't a lot of those either. But a 33 small mixer was made from 40 to 77. So there's a lot of the 33 brackets around, and they're steel, but you have to do some other modifications, and we'll get to that. If you really are going to want to save one, we will have a video on that coming out. So right now we'll put the motor back on. This can be tricky also. These mixers were made to be repaired. They weren't throwaway mixers like everything is today. And we have any parts you would need for these, except that bracket. And like I say, we get calls for that bracket probably at least every 2 weeks. The mixer you see, the red one back there is one that we just finished. We do a lot of those. That one has new porcelain. Hamilton Beach never made a red one, but we take the porcelain off all the way down to the cast iron and put on new porcelain. So you're back together, and there will be further videos on working on this motor, replacing feet. It's just, we're turning out as many as we can, but if you're going to work on one, the first thing you're going to do is take off the motor. So that's basically all we need to do on this one.